The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
All right, here we go, guys. I remember a day that there used to be slow news days in college football, and there was a time that I would take 3 weeks in a row off. Well, those days are way, way gone. There's news every single day, and we're on top of it with the analysis that you prefer because we're open, objective, give you a little bit of news as well. Presented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Caleb, we got a lot to talk about today. We've got odds, Tennessee's national championship odds. When's the last time they were even listed? We also have thoughts on Nico. Where does he compare in the anticipation to other quarterbacks? As a matter of fact, that's on our YouTube channel right now. I gave you 3 options. I gave you Josh Dobbs. I gave you Tyler Bray, Peyton Manning, and somebody else. And I'll explain to you why I didn't include Eric Ainge and Casey Clausen in the list. Part of the reason is because we only had 4 entries because that's YouTube. But there's also a reason, because I covered those teams, and it was a different sort of excitement. Also, Thursdays mean Ron Slay and Josh Ward. So Ron Slay will talk to the former basketball hoopster about the Lady Vols as SEC begins, and then what to expect from the guys as well. And then Caleb has this crazy thought that really isn't crazy. Should the Rose Bowl host the national title every year? I've been there, and I totally split. All right, so here we go. Let's get off and rolling. Hit that like and subscribe button. Josh Ward joins us as well. Did I mention Josh, Caleb?
Yes, you did. You mentioned Josh, and I'm glad we didn't take today off, because if we took off the day after the Epstein client list came out, everybody would have every suspicion in the world. So I want to say up front, Dave and I were not on the list.
No, and poor Caleb, who also handles news, and he when you hear a big news story about Trump or Epstein or something like that, he's not taking political sides. He's just working a lot. So I know it was probably kind of a long one for you. But, I don't know about you, but I think that Jeffrey Epstein guy isn't a good dude.
He's not a good dude. I haven't seen proof yet that Joe Paterno was made aware of it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Jeffrey Epstein, the Butch Jones of the investment world, yay or nay?
Well, he was actually a good investor. He was just a terrible person. So I wouldn't throw that on Butch Jones. I would not.
No.
As bad as Butch Jones is that.
Definitely some sociopathic tendency. So let's go ahead and get to today's tough question. It's brought to you by our good buddy Andy Mason at andymasonrealestate.com.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
All right, let's go ahead and set this thing up. We're going to get to Gabe, Jeudy-Lally, and D. Williams declaring for the draft here momentarily. But first, the Vols' early national championship odds are out. Caleb, you're more the gambler. I'm sure there's some guy on a street corner that would take your money no matter what. But don't you have to be kind of in the top 25 or so teams to even get odds on a national title?
Typically, I mean, they go pretty deep. I mean, they pretty much name FanDuel's naming everybody. I mean, if you guys want to, you can get Jacksonville State at, I think it's plus $1 million. So, or maybe it's plus 100,000, excuse me. It's plus 100,000. So you bet $100, you win $100,000. You bet 1,000, you win $1 million. So
I bet what's going to happen is those lines are going to even in the years coming out, because I think football in general is going to have more parity at the college level. Okay, so the Vols' early national title odds are pretty impressive. So let's get to them. And it's brought to you by Andy Mason, andymasonrealestate.com. Andy Mason is fantastic with the best service, the best prices in the biz in real estate in East Tennessee. Andy is unbelievable, and there's just no decision to be made. Over 40 years of experience in his office, andymasonrealestate.com. So Tennessee's title odds, give me a thumbnail sketch of where they stand compared to some other big name programs on the list.
Tennessee, if you factor in what is the best bet in a year, which is it's a combination of the likelihood of somebody doing something with how much the odds are against them, how good of odds you can get, because the longer the odds, the greater the payout. Tennessee is the best national title bet there is in college football, bar none, based on these odds.
Well, let's look at that. Because I do think you're on to something. Now, I don't believe in betting futures because I think it ties up your money. Just in general, that's a gambling guru told me that one time, and I think that's pretty much correct. I think they're more for fun. But you got Georgia plus 450. So in other words, you bet $100, you win $450. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff because you're a gambling expert, Caleb. Alabama plus 550, Ohio State plus 700, Texas plus 900, Michigan plus 1,000, Oregon plus 1,200, LSU plus 1,200, Ole Miss plus 1,400. Wow. Florida State plus 1,800, Penn State plus 2,500, and Tennessee plus 2,500. Well, I'll tell you right now that Tennessee has a better chance of winning a national championship than Penn State.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely do. And I think they have a better chance of winning a national title than Florida State next year. I think Florida State will still be stuck in the ACC and players aren't going to want to go there because they realize what happened this year. And I think Ole Miss, I don't see, even though I believe in Lane Kiffin as a coach and Ole Miss got all this talent, I think it's hard to get it all together. But Dave, that's just bet online. Tennessee is the best odds. Their odds are even better on FanDuel. And what I mean, or they're longer on FanDuel, meaning it's a better bet. Guess where they're ranked on FanDuel?
Lay it on me.
16th. They were 10th on Bet Online. They're 16th on FanDuel, and you can get them at plus 5,000 on FanDuel. Everybody you just named is ahead of them on FanDuel, but they also put Texas A&M ahead of Tennessee. They put Clemson ahead of Tennessee. They put USC ahead of Tennessee. They put Oklahoma ahead of Tennessee, and Tennessee shares odds with Washington, Missouri. With Washington and Missouri, guys, jump all in on Tennessee plus 5,000 on FanDuel. I'm not saying they'll win it, but you're not going to get a better bet on futures odds than Tennessee on FanDuel right now.
No, and the fact that Tennessee's in the discussion says something, obviously. So
I think they're being disrespected. Honestly, I think Vegas
really at 5,000 or well, maybe not disrespected, maybe treated with a little bit of ignorance. Because
yes, Vegas doesn't disrespect.
Yeah, they just don't. There's no way to know the program 1 to 85. I will tell you this. Somebody told me what Vegas is doing nowadays is they're utilizing administrative staffers at various schools. So they're willing to pay them to get a little bit of information. And you remember when the Cooper Mays number moved, why did it move? I think there are spies at almost every major school right now that are feeding information, but that's a whole different story. So where would you have put Tennessee? Plus 2,500, plus 5,000, plus 1,000. I think plus 2,500 seems about right to me.
I'm going plus 1,000. I would have gone plus 1,000. I've got Tennessee again at the top. You always put Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State ahead of the rest of the field because in just terms of raw talent, every year those three schools have more talent than every other school, right, Dave? You would agree with me on that, right?
Yes.
Georgia, Alabama. Yeah. So you always do Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State at the top, and then you bet honestly, you should just bet the field versus one of those three teams, and you're usually more often than not are better off with one of those three teams, even with Ryan Day coaching Ohio State. But right after that, look, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not so sure Tennessee shouldn't be in the same range as Michigan and Texas next year. This team is loaded. The schedule is very favorable, and in a 12-team playoff, I mean, we're talking. The fact that Ole Miss has better odds than Tennessee, I'm sorry. I don't care who they added. Tennessee, gun to your head. You got to bet a mortgage. One team's going to be better next year. Who's going to be better, Ole Miss or Tennessee?
Yep. I would bet Tennessee. Ole Miss to me sounds like if you're going to gamble on them, you might as well just go get in my way while I'm trying to pay for gas at the convenience store and buy a lottery ticket. Because every year they're going to try to put together all these transfer portal guys and hope it works. And one year it might work and they might win 10 or 11 games like they've done. Another year, it might be 6 wins, Caleb. So to me, I would just go down to your local convenience store, your local IGA, because I have no idea. I would not be stunned if at some point Lane Kiffin did put together a serious national championship run. I would also not be stunned if he got fired after stumbling for 2 or 3 years. But I think he's grown as a coach. But I agree. I think Tennessee was set on the message board. I thought it was a good line. Travis says Ole Miss is a sexy bet. It is a sexy bet. And but speaking of sexy, the images of Lane Kiffin's girlfriend leaking on social media.
I know I was going to. You said Lane Kiffin's grown as a coach, but the women he's interested in have not grown. He's got a pretty. I think he's got an age maximum, doesn't he?
No, I think they're getting ready for prom.
Yeah, yeah. What is it? You're too old to get the kids menu. Like Lane Kiffin's like too old. You're too old to date me. Sorry. But yes, I think that Tennessee on FanDuel plus 5,000 is just at 16th. Yeah, Vegas isn't disrespecting Tennessee. I don't know what they're missing though, because this is just, how could they be that level of ignorant? You know what? A part of me thinks they're looking at Nico's stat line in the Citrus Bowl without watching the game and not realizing, Dave, that he was so much better than his stat line showed in the Citrus Bowl.
Right, which if you're Vegas, that's basically the most you can do immediately. I mean, all of these are bad bets if you ask bettors. Nobody bets a long term, so they just want to get as many people as possible on board. I would wonder, do you know what Tennessee's SEC odds are?
Those aren't out yet, I believe. But you can just go based on this. Who all's in the SEC next year? Georgia, Alabama, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. They're tied with Missouri for 8th among SEC teams on the national title odds. Now, let's be fair. Because of the 12-team playoff and because of the fact that so many at-large teams will get in, you could be lower among SEC teams on national title odds than you could be on SEC title odds, because SEC title odds are going to be based on just your strength of schedule in the SEC, because the SEC is not going to take that into account. So Tennessee's got a much better shot of winning the SEC next year than, say, Florida, not just because of talent, but because Florida's got the most brutal schedule I've ever seen for an SEC slate. And Greg Sankey's lying to us and is going to tell us that every single win in the SEC means the same thing next year. No, it doesn't. Not in a free division.
Florida's gone from being one of the best programs of my generation to feeling like a diabetic foot that needs to be lopped off. Maybe that's too graphic, but man, it just seems like they've slipped both on their end and the way they're viewed nationally and in the Southeast. We'll see what happens with that. So how many schools, I'm going to put this on you, Caleb, how many schools should have better odds than Tennessee to win a national championship? And go ahead and fill in the message board as well. Let's get your thoughts. And it's brought to you by our friend Don Self. Customer service still matters. Everybody's shopping for prices, but Don Self, with over 40 years of experience, has built their business and reputation on taking care of their customers. He is your State Farm agent in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126. Go to donself.net. Donself.net. It's right below. Support our sponsors. That's why we're here. What schools can argue, it's a fact, have a better chance of winning a national championship than Tennessee this year?
You mean next year? Because this year's not over technically. But yes.
I mean, I get in recruiting calendar stuff with national side. You probably heard me reference 2023 as 2024 several times last year. Go ahead.
So, only 4. Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. They have better odds than everybody every year, and they should. And I'll give you Michigan, because Michigan, I think, is going to win the national title this year. You think they are too, and they probably have a decent factory of talent coming in and out now. Nobody else. Other schools can maybe be tied with Tennessee in odds. Nobody else should have better odds than Tennessee next year. I got Tennessee in my top 5 of odds. Guys, I'm really high on Tennessee next year. And Dave can vouch. I've been high on Tennessee for next year since the beginning of last year. And Josh Heupel is very high and is staking everything on 2024 for Tennessee.
Nope, I completely agree with that. So Sean says Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, then Tennessee. I think the common theme with Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, and to some extent Oregon, I think those guys can overcome a key injury or two. I don't know that Tennessee can still do that. I mean, if Rue McCoy comes back 100% and he's the guy that dictates coverage and he gets hurt again, I think Ohio State has that type of guy to plug in. I don't think that Tennessee has that type of guy to plug in. Cooper Mays.
I agree. I agree. And that's where Michigan is on the list too. I think Michigan is at the point as a program now where they can plug guys in if someone goes down. It is debatable if Oregon can, because Oregon does depend heavily on their quarterback, whoever it is at the time. But, we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move forward here. Tennessee's got some news, and they've had a run of good news lately in the transfer portal. This latest bit of good news or bad news is a little bit surprising to me. Gabe Jeudy-Lally, and we know D. Williams was going to go anyway because of a stupid rule that's in place that I want to get into. But let's start with Gabe Jeudy-Lally as Vol transfer portal coverage brought to you by our friends at Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Enjoy life when you see better. How about that? Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun, ccteyes.com, ccteyes.com. I was surprised by Gabe Jeudy-Lally. Were you?
I was genuinely shocked. And he was a very reliable utility cornerback all of last year. Look, I'm going to say this for Gabe Jeudy-Lally. Maybe he's just trying his hand at the draft. Doesn't Gabe Jeudy-Lally seem like the type of kid that, like, he graduated with his degree, he's going to focus on a career that he got his degree in, but, he's given the NFL draft a shot just to see if it works? Doesn't that kind of doesn't Gabe Jeudy-Lally strike you as that type of guy?
Yeah, kind of like Josh Dobbs.
Exactly.
I didn't think Josh Dobbs would stick, to be honest with you. I thought he'd play 3 years in the NFL and then he'd be a rocket scientist, but it turns out he's stuck. But yeah, it feels like that to a lesser extent. I think this is Tennessee running out of money. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. And I think he was probably in negotiations to try to get that money. And when he couldn't, he decided to move on. It's a hard guy to place value on. I love these guys, and I love Gabe Jeudy-Lally, and I hate for Tennessee's sake that he's leaving. I remember his quote that just rang so true when he came out and he said, I don't even care if I start. I'm paraphrasing. I don't care if I start. I just want to help and take this program to the next level. I thought that was amazing. And utility, does Tennessee have anybody that's more versatile and the ability to play nickel, corner, or safety? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Maybe they're banking on that MTSU transfer, Jacoby Thomas, to be able to do that, but they might also just be locking him in at transfer now, particularly with Wesley Walker was the other guy, but he's at the portal now too. And look, it's you wonder, Dave, if the coaches are just that high on the young talent at defensive back right now. Maybe look, I don't know. I thought he looked horrible against Georgia, but who I'm about to name, Andre Turrentine. But Andre Turrentine did seem like something clicked against Iowa. Now, was it because he played Iowa, or do you think something clicked? Like, that's a real debate.
I think it's because he played Iowa.
I think so too, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's because he played Iowa. And the other thing about Gabe Jeudy-Lally that's I think tough to replace is that leadership. Who's the leader in the secondary? Just in the room, in the locker room, because Willie Martinez as a coach doesn't strike me as the fire and brimstone type of leader that is going to get your guys up and that sort of thing. I just who's the leader right now going into 2024? Who's the leader in that secondary?
The three leaders of that unit last year were Gabe Jeudy-Lally, Wesley Walker, and Jalen McCullough, and all three are gone now. So it's I just saw it on the message board. I was about to say it. What if it's Boo Carter? What if he steps in as a freshman and is just ready to take over?
Ready for my prediction?
Yep.
I haven't made you this big of a prediction since I guess Nico. When I told you he was real, I'm messing with my lighting here for those on the YouTube channel. Hit like and subscribe. I think he starts day one. I think he starts a strong safety day one. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I think Boo Carter starts at day one. I'm thinking there might be some do you think there's Eric Berry level readiness for him?
Whoa. I mean, that's a big one.
Not Eric Berry potential, but Eric Berry, because Eric Berry was ready to start day one, and John Chavis and Larry Slade decided, let's start Gerard Parrish over him against Cal. Still one of the worst decisions ever made in the history of personnel decisions in Tennessee football. That's worse than Joe Milton over Hendon Hooker, honestly. But
what Rocky Thomas posted on the message board, Boo is apparently already impressing the coaching staff massively. Yeah, I've been told that as well, repeatedly. And Dylan saying Turrentine needs to take the leadership role since he's the veteran now. I would agree, but you're kind of either born with that or you're not. And Dylan, I hope you get to feel him better. So Dylan's been a little bit under the weather. I was on the message board earlier this morning. I'm going to be on earlier from time to time, get your thoughts on the direction of the show and what you want to talk about. But now here's my issue that I have with the NCAA, and it's a recurring issue. They're still stupid. That's the issue, because here's the deal with this D. Williams. He played in 2020. You're supposed to have an extra year of eligibility unless you're a JUCO player. So the COVID year is non-applicable. Why?
So that doesn't count. So if you play JUCO, it doesn't. It's the COVID exception is not applicable.
Right. I didn't know that until I just dug into that.
That is ridiculous.
What the hell
that
kind
is
of
so ridiculous.
Excuse my language. What kind of stupid, absolutely stupid rule is that? So the guys that are working their hardest to get through junior college, that has a weight room that's complete trash, you have no facilities, but you're working your way up because maybe you didn't get the grades or whatever, and you work your way up and you don't get your extra year because of COVID. Really?
Do you think he could have appealed that maybe and tried to fight it?
Well, I don't know. He may have been ready to go. I don't know.
Maybe, but that's the thing. Maybe it was like he decided
it wasn't a college player, and I don't know his grades. Maybe he's not a school guy.
Maybe, or it could have been, it's just not worth the fight. Like you covered the Dante Stallworth thing, which was again the NCAA not looking out for a player at all, who had a dinner with an agent one time, right? Didn't even make a decision, and the NCAA says and I think Stallworth wanted to consider appealing that, but just didn't want to go through all the fight. Was like, it might as well focus on the draft now that I've done it.
Well, then he ended up he got a 4-game suspension, right? And they said he could come back for that.
No, I think he just.
No, they told him he could have a 4-game suspension, which was still stupid, which didn't make any sense.
Stupid.
So yes. Now NCAA is being pushed out of college football, which sounds weird, but I think it's great. Hit like and subscribe. Guess what, kids? Josh Ward will join us next, and we'll get his thoughts on Gabe, Jeudy-Lally, and D. Williams as well. Plus, Josh has the list of players that performed in the Citrus Bowl at such a high level they can be expected to be superstars, and I think that might happen very soon. So Josh with a piece on offthehooksports.com. So if you had to predict right now who is Tennessee's starting 5, because we include the nickel in Tennessee secondary.
Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson at cornerbacks, Boo Carter at strong safety. I'm going to go Jacoby Thomas, the MTSU transfer, at free safety, and I might say they move Andre Turrentine over to nickel. That's going to be my guess, but we'll see. I still haven't seen enough to believe in Andre Turrentine. I'll say that.
Lee, could you not get something together for Gabe, Jeudy-Lally? Could you not get something? I think Tennessee was caught in the perfect storm where they built themselves as an NILU, and they had to pay their guys like Cooper and Brew and Keenan Pili to stay around, and they didn't have money to spend more in the transfer portal. Josh Ward will join us next. We love him. His appearance is brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. So, Josh, give me 2 minutes. Poor clock management on my part as I see you in the queue. We love visiting with Josh. Hang tight. Hit that like and subscribe button. And if you turned your notifications on, we appreciate that. And coming up, a former Vol who's going through a really tough time. And I want to encourage you to help him out. So we'll get to that. Let's get to Josh Ward in 2 minutes. Stay tuned. Caleb Calhoun, Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do, to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on offthehooksports.com.
Somebody cracking me up on the message board. They're saying somebody needs to get Tyree West a new number 42. Looks goofy. It does. It looks like he's an obese Ronnie Lott. It just doesn't look right. Josh Ward joins us now. We absolutely love him, and he's got a fantastic piece on offthehooksports.com that takes a look at the players that Nico will be able to depend on based off their play against Iowa. First of all, Josh, just let me get your thoughts. How are you?
I'm good. Hope you guys are.
Never better. Listen to you doing a little Twitter space last night. It was a fantastic job as always. Now, Josh, as far as Tennessee's play against Iowa, you were going to judge the players, the support players on offense that were going to be able to help Nico into the future. But you have to kind of go into that in some sense with a notion that I was pretty good defensively. So as you went into that project, what was kind of your parameters of the guys that could have the biggest impact into the future?
Well, I started just knowing who's going to have an opportunity immediately. And that's why I started the piece with Dylan Sampson, because he was taking over the starting running back role at the same time that Nico was taking over the QB1 role, and they were kind of doing it together. Dylan's older. He's played a lot more, of course, but I wanted to see how does he handle a big workload? How big of a workload does Tennessee give him? And it ended up being a big one, 20 carries. He continued to show the playmaking ability. He made a great play where he could have been taken down around the line of scrimmage, was able to escape, get to his left, and picked up 7 or 8 yards on the play. His ability to escape, his ability to hit big plays, Sampson's ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, he can do a lot in this offense. And I know wearing number 6 and with his burst, there's the Alvin Kamara comparison. If you want to make that, that's fine. I don't know how fair that is, considering we've seen Kamara play at an elite level in the NFL. But for Tennessee and the offense, I get it because he has special playmaking ability and he can be dangerous in the red zone, just like Nico showed that he could be, running for 3 touchdowns the other day. And that combination gives us an idea of what Tennessee will try to do starting out in 2024.
Josh's appearance on Thursdays, along with Ron Slays, is brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Imagine having the best spas made right here in the U.S. in your backyard. That's in Athens. Their showroom is there, and they deliver. If you're in Knoxville, Chattanooga, get there and get a Dynasty Pool and Spa. It's just absolutely phenomenal. They've got all the best chemicals in the world for your pools, and your spas. So you've got to check out Dynasty Pools and Spas. They are awesome. All right, Caleb Calhoun, before we get to 4 downs, brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas, what would you like to ask Mr. Ward?
Josh, before we get to 4 downs, were you concerned about the fact at all that, and part of this had to do with Samson, because I think you and I could have whipped a block from Samson, because he's the worst pass blocker I think I've seen in the history of mankind.
I see the comments in the chat, by the way. He needs to be better. For anybody that wondered why doesn't he play more during the season when Jalen Wright and Jabari Small played so much, and nobody should be wondering why Jalen Wright played as much as he did. The question would be, should he have played more? He averaged more than 7 yards a carry and hit 1,000 yards. But the answer for Samson would be concerned with his pass protection.
Right. And so where I was getting with that was, now part of this was they had a makeshift offensive line out there that won't be there next year, but were you concerned about the number of hits Nico took in the game? Because Dave and I had a debate yesterday, should Nico started all year? And I'm thinking if Nico took that many hits every game, he wouldn't have been playing by week 5 of this season, because it just seemed like he got hit a lot against Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, the box score shows 15 hits just on sacks and carries, and then other plays where he's hit in past plays. That was a concern during the regular season. Whether it was justified or not, it was, and it's not difficult to explain why that was a concern. So that'll be one of the biggest talking points of the offseason. We talk about negative what-if scenarios. What if Nico gets hurt? Because it could absolutely happen. Then Tennessee's season goes in a bad direction, most likely. So protecting him and doing everything they can to have him the entire season will be high on the priority list.
Yep. And then somebody referring to Tyree West as Ronnie Whole Lot. So it's because he's big, Josh. You get that?
Oh, is that what it meant?
No. Josh smiled.
A whole lot of laughs out of that one.
Yeah. Whatever. You've gotten so used to my corny jokes that you don't laugh at them, but I see you smile and you're giggling on the inside.
That's pretty good. Ronnie Lott's one of those names, by the way, that needs to be brought up more because too much time has passed since he plays, and he is an all-timer, no matter the generation. So we're passing now too many generations where we have to talk about players that were something that the youth, Dave, need to know about.
Well, I mean, you do know Ronnie Lott and I have something in common, right? You do that?
What is it?
Okay. We're both missing a digit. He had a pinky finger taken off so he can continue to compete in the playoffs one year, and I thought it would be wise to attack a lawnmower. So it wasn't. So I'm missing a pinky toe. He's missing a pinky finger, Josh. Which is worse to live without?
Well, the pinky toe is a valuable appendage.
No, it's not. It's really not. I've never ever missed it in my life. The pinky finger, everybody's gonna ask about. All right, let's get to 4 downs right now. Now brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Off those words. That's the wrong sounder. Let's try that again. What am I doing? And Coop, what should people do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Beautiful.
4 Downs brought to you by Dynasty Spas, the most comfortable spas made in the United States of America, right here in East Tennessee. Drop in for the all-new showroom in Athens. Dynasty Spas, perfect for all 4 seasons. 4 Downs, presented by Off the Hook Sports.
All right, we'll visit with Cooper Mays later today. That'll be on the page, so make sure you have your notifications on. If you hit like and subscribe, we're looking forward to that. And Jacob Warren very soon. What down is it there, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
Oh, yeah. All right. We talked about Dylan Sampson quite a bit. Do you get any feel from people you talk to that his lack of pass protection is an effort thing or is it a technique thing? Usually it's an effort thing, but I want to get your thoughts on anything you might have heard.
Well, I think it's fair to wonder about effort behind the scenes and what we don't see, practice, workouts, time on your own to improve. One thing that doesn't help Dylan Sampson is he's not very big. And when you're taking on big guys that you have to block, it's going to be more challenging at his size. But how much work has gone into becoming a better pass protector? I don't know, but he needs to be better in 2024. What we know is that coaching staff still believes he's the next guy up. They gave him that opportunity against an Iowa defense that they had a lot of respect for going in, and they knew that they would try to hit Nico and ended up doing that. But Tennessee staff said, we're going to play Dylan a lot. Now, the other options were freshmen, I recognize, but how much does that change next year? Cameron Seldon is a player that we'll talk about a lot this offseason and how big of a role he can play, but Sampson needs to get better because he's going to play a lot and will go in as the top guy at running back in the upcoming season.
All righty, let's go to second down as we jump in the hot tub with Cooper Mays.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
What do you got, Caleb?
John, listen to me. Sorry, Josh. I apologize.
It's a John Adams that you may have heard of.
Yes.
Or John Ward.
Or John Ward. That's true. Josh, I hate to sound like I'm the consistent negative Nancy of Tennessee's running backs today, but I know you talked about Cam Seldon looking solid. What did you make of his horrible vision, though? There was a 3rd and 1 that he had a clear first down where he took an angle that Trent Richardson probably could have taken. That looked like the angle Trent Richardson took with the Raiders in that one NFL meme. You know the one I'm talking about? That's so bad. Is there a concern with Cam Seldon's vision long term because of that? Because it was bad.
Maybe so. I think you're the vision judge of running backs. We've had running back vision conversations here the last few weeks. So part of my thought with Seldon is in high school, how much between the tackles, go pick up yardage opportunities did he have versus he was an open field guy. He's still learning the running back position. What I trust is that Seldon is a high level athlete. He has really good size. You don't make too many, or you don't find too many athletes that are 220 plus pounds that can run the way that he does. But hey, go get us a yard. That's something that he's still probably learning about, that there's time to dance to try to make guys miss and get a big gain versus just get us to the next down. And that's probably something that he has to learn. So his vision, I don't know. It's the first time we've really seen him play meaningful snaps at the position all season long. But I say, when I say solid, I feel comfortable saying that with his performance because he showed that he can play in the SEC, I believe. Now, can he become what they hoped when they signed him as an elite player in the SEC? That's obviously to be determined.
Well, let me ask you this, because you were pretty high on him in the offseason. I was a little hesitant because I've seen guys have good springs and not be a factor in the fall. What did you think of the fact that he wasn't a factor as much in the fall? Were you surprised?
Well, if I knew that all three guys would stay completely healthy all season, I wouldn't have expected him to get much of an opportunity. I thought that at some point that would come because of the position that he plays, but it did not. Also, Sampson, the way that he played in the opener, scoring 4 touchdowns, kind of established himself as one of the top 3, because I think that might have still been in question if he didn't have success. But he did, and there was no question about who the top 3 guys would be. So, no, I didn't think anything of Seldon's lack of opportunity in the regular season. He got a big opportunity in terms of carries and workload in the bowl game, and I think he'll get more of that in 2024.
Yeah, Derek says kind of like a Tony Pollard. I kind of like that comparison even more than Alvin Kamara, who I think is a little bit more of a stout, stronger runner, but I do like that.
Yeah, Kamara, I don't think a lot of people recognize how big he is. I mean, he's a legit 215 pounds. Kamara's the real deal. So it's unfair for almost anybody to be compared to what he is at his size, sneaky big with elite elusive ability and ability to catch the football. At Tennessee, he showed what kind of receiver he was. We talk about his lack of usage. Not in the pass game. He was heavily involved as a pass catcher, and we saw everything come together in New Orleans.
I'd be willing to bet if you stand in an elevator at a Las Vegas casino, you probably know how big Alvin Kamara is. Okay.
Oh man.
You see what I can do? I mean, this is brutal. By the way, Josh, congratulations. You're going to be on the Tri-Cities as well. So pass that along before you get the third down.
Yeah, 6:40 a.m. The Sports Monster up in the Tri-Cities area. Big Tennessee fans up in that area. So we're excited that starting on Monday, we'll simulcast Monday through Friday, 12 to 3.
Yep. I'm sure they'll appreciate that because they've been used to carrying Eric Ainge. And you don't know what he's going to say.
This is my second time to replace Jim Rome. Not taking any shots here. He's obviously had tremendous success, but in East Tennessee, it has not worked. And with the Sports Animal back in 2008, had a chance to be a part of the local show to replace Jim Rome. And now we'll get a chance to do that up in the Tri-Cities. So hopefully a lot of people will be able to tune in and catch more Tennessee talk.
Before we get to those wide receivers, can you say rack 'em Jim Rome style for me?
I cannot.
Please.
No, I did. What do they call it? Not smack off. Is that right?
Yeah, they do it at the end of every year. It's the worst show in the history of radio.
It's so weird and wild. So if you're into that, it's quite a show. If you're not, then the same applies.
Yeah, if you're into cocaine, I hear it's fun, but I'm not into that.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Okay, what do you got for third down, Caleb?
Josh, you mentioned the receivers. And you mentioned Squirrel White, Caleb Webb, and Chaz Nimrod, but can we really glean anything into the game? Because it seemed like they schemed most of the passing game around Ramel Keaton, who didn't really have a great final game at Tennessee because of the drop and the missed touchdown pass. But given that he's gone, and given the fact that you got so many receivers coming in, plus Rue McCoy coming back, how much can we glean from what we saw in the Citrus Bowl with the receivers?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of the conversation around the position is about Brew coming back, Brazel coming in from Tulane as a transfer, and what kind of opportunity the freshman might have. Dante Thornton, when he comes back from injury, better recognize he's not going to be given the same opportunity he was as a transfer coming in from Oregon. There's more competition, even if he's going to play on the outside. And for Nimrod and Webb, we'll see. I think their potential is good, but the entire room, I think we're talking about potential, not what's proven. There are reasons to be excited about Brazel coming in from Tulane. There are reasons to be excited about Brew coming back. All of this matters. To me, it's more about, can they get to what the ceiling is? The ceiling looks pretty high, but what impact can Mike Matthews make as a true freshman, highly touted? He and Staley have 8.5 months to get ready, from arriving during bowl practice to the start of the season at the end of August. So they have a lot of time. Will they get a big opportunity? I don't know. Where's Brew McCoy coming back from his injury? We know that he's a tough guy that you can count on. And I think him bringing the leadership back to the room really matters, because they need to push each other this offseason to all become better. They have good athletes in the room. They have more depth than this past season, but nobody's really proven that he's ready to go become an all SEC level wide receiver.
All righty. And lastly, it is fourth down.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right, who else? Tight ends? Did you see anybody else that maybe we, especially the tight ends, that maybe we haven't discussed at this point?
I mean, I saw more shots of Holden Stace on the sideline than Ethan Davis. So
the Notre Dame transfer, for those that don't know, the tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there on the sideline wearing his jersey, which is great. And he was an important pickup. But again, that we'll see what kind of impact he makes. The offense is going to be different. So, no, I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah, I was like, look at that Holden guy, man. He's able to catch those warm-up passes from Nico. That guy's amazing.
Yeah, we'll see. No joke, the Ethan Davis catch in the orange and white game from Nico is a play that a lot of us have referenced, because the throw by Nico was an example of the kind of skill he has. And he made another great throw to the sideline on the run that Ramel Keaton came down with in the bowl game. But we saw Ethan Davis make that play in the spring game. But that's really the last we've seen of Ethan Davis.
Yep, very true. I want to talk Tennessee's quarterback situation, the anticipation, and the excitement. But first, Josh retweeted something, and I retweeted it as well. Tell you a quick story. If you can tune in, perk your ears up for a second. I won't take long. But I remember having a young Josh Ward and a young Zach Turn over to my house for dinner, because Zach was great to work with. You may remember him. He was the guy that got in on a lot of games towards the end, and people would cheer, probably because he's Caucasian, but he was just also a really good dude. Josh was a really good dude. We played video games. It was neat. And I remember he shared with us the fact that his wife was pregnant at that day. And well, now his wife is facing just an incredible challenge. And we've got that right now on our YouTube page. She has cancer, and I don't want to get into the prognosis, but they could use your help. So I know that, and we certainly appreciate people donate to our channel all the time, and that's great. But for the foreseeable future, the link's right below. Give any money you would give to me, and YouTube takes a lot of it. But just give it to Zach. Give it to Zach and Julie, because they're facing a really tough situation. Full family, young kids. He was just a great dude. I still remember that day, Josh, it was just neat kind of being around a guy that let his guard down, because players always have their guard up around media guys like us.
Yeah, Zach was awesome. Having him come work at the radio station for a little bit and getting to know him that way. And we've been able to stay in touch over the years since he's moved back to North Carolina. So he came to Tennessee from North Carolina, where he played basketball. He's gone back and coached over there and has taught. And he was there during the Ron Slay years, and all those guys love Zach. And just wish the best for his family. Anybody that can give, whatever you can give, can help a family that's in need. They have 3 children, and she has a tough fight on her hands. So all the prayers for Zach and his family, and all the support that we can give them. He's a VFL. He's continued to follow and love the University of Tennessee. So when we talk about VFLs, and we've seen it so many times, fans reaching out, giving back, doing what they can to help one of their own. Zach Turner is one of their own.
Okay, that link is right below. So it's at about $5,000 of a $30,000 target. Can we get it to 30,000? Thanks to a little help from Off the Hook Sports, I would certainly hope so. So let's try to do that. All right, Josh, I'm going to change gears on you. It was our poll question of the day, and of course it involves Tennessee's quarterback, Nico. Maybe you've heard of him. So this was my question that I posed on the message board. With Nico taking the reins, when have you last been this excited about the Vols starting quarterback? Josh Dobbs, 29%. Tyler Bray, 2%. Peyton Manning, 40%. Never been this excited, 29%. What do you make of that group?
From the outside of other people's opinions, Dave, I think there can only be 2 choices from what I see, and that's either Peyton or never. Because unfortunately, it's been more than 25 years since Peyton was even playing at Tennessee. So there's a fair percentage of the fan base that didn't get a chance to be excited about Peyton. There might be some fans that were excited about Peyton that are even more excited about Nico, but the Nico hype and the buildup and the excitement that I already see is greater than what it was for Dobbs and for Tyler Bray. And I'm not sure it's comparable, the two. I think there's some revisionist history in how people felt about Dobbs after the fact. So the Nico hype, the excitement, the buildup, it is a lot. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. If you're fired up, if you're changing your expectations, that's kind of what college football is all about. But I think Nico is more comparable to Peyton than anybody since them. And before that, I'm not even sure what you would say. So I think that's the class that Nico is in terms of the talk, the hype, the buildup.
Now, we included 2 quarterbacks, or we didn't include them because you only have so much space on the YouTube poll. But there were 2 that I didn't include that Caleb suggested at our 3:45 a.m. meeting. And here's why. Eric Ainge and Casey Clausen. Well, I think that Clausen was a little bit of an unknown. Certainly people were excited to have him at Tennessee. And then with Ainge, there was the competition with Schaefer, and some people were Schaefer guys. So that's why I didn't include them. I don't even think it's arguable. I think it's never. And the reason I say never is because, Josh, you really had to be a hardcore football fan to know I know this sounds crazy, but to know Peyton Manning was signing with UT back then. I mean, recruiting wasn't covered like that in the early 90s. I think it has to be never.
Yeah, that's a fair point. If you include, and I have another one too, if you include the internet age, it's not, there is no comparison. What we have now versus then. I agree with you on the Ainge and Schaefer. There was a split, and it was more about, okay, hey, that's cool. We have freshmen that are starting, but they didn't compare to the Nico hype and buildup. Same with T, same with Casey. There was this excitement about the quarterback coming in from California, but also there was the dual quarterback aspect with Ainge and Schaefer, with Rattay and Clausen when he arrived, and Casey quickly beat him out, and Rattay left almost immediately. And then even with Peyton, Dave, that first year in 94, it was not unanimous on Peyton's side. There was a lot of Brandon Stewart believers that, hey, this is the guy with his athleticism and what he would be able to do. Obviously, that changed as time went on. So part of it depends on the timeline you're choosing. And once you were fully on board with Peyton, the buildup was quick. But it's immediate with Nico. He doesn't have any other quarterback that he's competing with in this conversation. And I don't think the other quarterbacks in the last 20 years at least are comparable to Nico with the amount of excitement the fan base has before he really even gets started.
Caleb, jump in here, but it feels like with Clausen, Manning, Ainge, all those, it's like we'll see. Whereas what we've heard from reports out of practice with Nico and the way he played against Iowa, it's like almost a proven commodity. Maybe not fair, maybe ahead of ourselves, but it feels different than those other guys.
Okay, let me reroute this. Let's compare not them coming in. What about Nico compared to, because this is technically, he just finished his first year. He has started a game now against Iowa. Can we compare it to Peyton Manning going into his sophomore year or Casey Clausen going into his sophomore year? Because they both did finish the previous season and they both finished really strong. I mean, Casey had an epic game-winning drive at South Carolina. Peyton Manning won 6 or 7 games to close out his freshman year. So do you think the hype for Nico with just one start still supersedes the hype for Peyton entering his sophomore year in 95 when we knew he was going to be the guy at that point? Or Casey entering his sophomore year in 01?
I think if you Josh, you go. Sorry.
Well, I would say yes to Casey. This is no knock on Casey. I love Casey. I still think he's underrated in what he was as a quarterback. In terms of the hype and fans being all about him, Nico is ahead of Casey. Peyton's more comparable. Peyton finished with the bowl win, and you had that to carry into the offseason just like Nico. But I mean, Nico is getting a ton of, hey, we're going to the playoff talk. And it's a playoff now. It's not, there was no 12-team playoff to talk about 94 into 95. That's another reason it's difficult to make the comparison. But I don't think Nico takes a back seat to anybody when it comes to hype. I mean, that's going to apply to a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of programs. It's wild. But that's why this is special in terms of the potential that is there. Because if he can come close to matching what the hype is, then the next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun for Tennessee fans. So it might be about equal. Like you adjust for inflation. If you adjust for the internet and social media, I think it's very comparable, Nico and Peyton. But with what I'm watching right now and what I think is going to happen over the next 8 months, I don't think Nico's taking a backseat to anybody when it comes to hype and excitement.
All right, so let's just say it. Is this the most highly anticipated player in the history of Tennessee football?
He is up there with anybody. Yes.
Man, I can't because of the internet. Yeah,
from a recruiting ranking standpoint, the amount of coverage that he's getting, and then you factor in modern day stuff, NIL. He has apparel that goes out right after the game, and fans are probably going to flock to it. When he sets up for autograph sessions, they're going to be crazy lines. So I don't think he has to look up at any list of Tennessee players when it comes to hype. That's not to say that he's going to be Peyton. Peyton's track record speaks for itself, and that's why I'm looking at this as an anticipation thing, because by the time Peyton was done, everybody knows how beloved he was. Fans became Colts fans just because he was going there. Tennessee fans were crying when he didn't win the Heisman Trophy. So what Peyton did speaks for itself, but the anticipation of 2024 compared to going into 1995, I think Nico's right up there.
So thank you, Josh. Go ahead, Caleb.
can we go broader? Because I agree with you guys. One, not just Nico's greatness, because I've said for a while, Josh, that if you could design a quarterback in a lab for this offensive-friendly system that Josh Heupel runs, it's Nico. Can we go broader? Could we say he rivals the Tim Tebow hype at Florida entering 2007?
I would say that.
Yeah, that's what it's like because that is closer to this time. But Tebow going into his second year at Florida and what he could become. Yeah, I don't. Trevor Lawrence would be tough because he already won a national title his freshman season. So there was crazy anticipation for what he would do, but he did it immediately.
Maybe Deshaun
Watson.
Watson.
Tebow's probably Tebow had a bigger impact as a freshman, but that's comparable in terms of just kind of over the top aspect to it.
What about Bryce Young, as far as highly anticipated? I felt like a lot of Alabama fans were just waiting for him to take over. Maybe that's one.
Yeah, he was in such a long run. I mean, part of it is, I know that Hendon had his great run, but part of it is still the hunger among Tennessee fans to get back to the top. And Nico, I mean, it's still a line from Hendon. Nico's the chosen one. He's the chosen one for Tennessee to get back there. Bryce was the next one to do it for him. And they didn't win a title. He did win the Heisman. But Bryce was he was next man up. They had Jalen Hurts succeed. They had Tua succeed. They had Mac Jones succeed. Then it was Bryce Young's turn. Nico is the one to get Tennessee back to where Peyton had it. Then obviously T won the national title. Peyton won the SEC championship. But Peyton helped get Tennessee to that level where, okay, we're top 3 to 5. We are a player for the national title. Nico is that guy to Tennessee fans to do it again.
Josh, you're the man. Have a blessed day and a fantastic weekend, sir.
You got it. Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it. Josh Ward of the Sports Animal. Love being joined by him. Yeah, I don't know that I think he's the most highly anticipated player in Tennessee football history, or maybe even Tennessee athletics history, except for Ron Slay, who will join us next. How about that? Again, 4 downs and Josh's appearance, Ron's appearance, brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. You got the weekend drive to Athens. Take a look at some of these spas. You've got to do that, and then they'll deliver it to you. So you get it directly from the manufacturer, and they've got all kinds of incredible deals. So check it out. We got Ron Slay coming up next. We always love visiting with Ron Slay, reminding you that portions of the program are brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. I want to be your jeweler. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? How about the Fire Opals, a Tennessee tradition? Go to rickterryjewelry.com and their newly designed website and check it out. Rick Terry Jewelry Design. 2 minutes, Ron Slay. Here we go. It's the sleigh ride. That's right. Stay tuned. Off Those Sports.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun at cctis.com.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
We believe every day is a good day to be thirsty. With free samples on draft and lots of flavors to choose from, Tennessee Cider Company prepares a hard cider that's easy to enjoy. Some say it's the signature cider of the South. Others say it's the cure to your craving. They all say you'll savor every sip. The area of Gatlinburg has so much to offer, and so does Tennessee Cider Company. Add us to your list for shopping and fun experiences. You'll be glad you made the trip. Find our cidery in the Mountain Mall on the Gatlinburg Parkway. Sip smart. Sip the good stuff. Sip Tennessee Cider Company. Thirsty yet? Doors open at 10 a.m.
This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks and Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
You're listening to The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
The internet is full of pictures of each and every one of you.
Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free.
Is there nothing you people can't do?
Also available on OffTheHookSports.com.
So that Tennessee Cider Company spot that played just a second ago, well, they're giving you stuff just to try out their cider. Use the promo code HAT and get free swag with your next order. Cider delivered pretty much anywhere in the United States of America. Go to tncidercompany.com. That's tncidercompany.com. And our next guest is joined now. It's Ron Slay, the man, brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Ron, you're looking dapper as always.
How you guys doing this morning, man?
Good. Ron's so smooth. He could wear like a hoodie and a toboggan to a wedding, and nobody would say you're underdressed. They'd be like, just thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah, you know what the cool thing is? I would try it. That's good. I probably would try to pull something like that off on some occasion at some point in my life. I would have tried.
Yeah, I think now that we think about it, maybe there could be like a Wedding Singers 2 with me and Ron starring.
I love that. Like, I need it led by the guy that's in all these The Hangover and Wedding Crashes. I need the guy that, if he said I want to be the background singer for him, because I love listening to his songs. I watch the movies for his songs.
Yeah. Here's the question: Who's more ripped? If y'all sing shirtless, who's more ripped?
I'm gonna prepare. I don't know if Hook gonna prepare. Like, I'm gonna prepare. I'm gonna prepare. For
I need some work. About the holidays and football season were not great. I'm up about 13. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm working on it. Ron, let me get your thoughts on this real quick, because you're in the Nashville area, and we were just talking about Nico. I think he's the most highly anticipated Tennessee player ever. And I say that because Peyton Manning was highly anticipated, but recruiting wasn't covered like that back then. You really had to be a die-in-the-wool type of football fan to know that Peyton Manning was coming to Tennessee.
Right.
The backstory, we all know it now, but it wasn't common knowledge at that time. I think Nico's it, and I don't even know that there's a close second.
No, it's not. And I think you hear it. The funny thing is, you don't just hear this from Tennessee fans. Like, you hear this from all of the talking heads across the nation, especially ones that cover the SEC. Like, they see it. They see, like, this guy has it. I think the wait and see moment is the guys that are going to be around him to help him reach his potential. I think when you look at what Peyton walking into a situation, he was coming to a group where, you know, they were known for running the rock. You know what I'm saying? You kind of had a foundation laid as far as a quarterback. Not like that, but, you know, you had some guys that could play quarterback before Peyton. You know what I'm saying? That this one, Hendon, and then it's a drop off. It's, you know, outside of Dobbs, you're looking like, where are we going? What are we gonna do with this? And then you get Nico, and the splashes that you get, you automatically see that he has it. You see it from the field, in the teaspoon size that you got of him playing. But I think what's incredible with him, man, is the way he carries himself. Like, the man carries himself like he's it. You know what I mean? But it's not a brash, cocky. It's like, oh, that's Nico. Like, he's doing what he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard you a minute ago talking about Bryce Young. And that's what I was hearing about Bryce. I never got to see it until that their spring scrimmage. I was like, whoa, this dude may be a problem for some time to come at Alabama. So I think that's the kind of feeling I get with Nico.
Yep, I do too. Want to break down some basketball, but first, a friend of mine, a former teammate of yours, Zach Turner, is going through a heck of a challenge here with his wife battling cancer. So we mentioned this earlier in the program. Don't worry about it. People donate to our channel all the time. We don't need that. His link is right below. So we want you just to donate to his GoFundMe page. We're going to get that thing to 30,000. It's about 5,000 now. But Ron, I'm sure you love Zach just like everybody did. He understood his role. He was fine with it, getting on the court, and when the fans would go crazy, it was so neat because it meant you guys were blowing somebody out.
Yeah,
yeah, very fine young man who I had over to my house one time after his career was over, and
man, that's dope. You never invited me.
You're welcome anytime. I thought you were too cool.
I'm the homeboy. That's what I am. I'm like Kramer. Everybody, you know what I mean. I'm freelancing everybody's house, especially if some food involved. But hey, man, ZT30, that's my guy, man. Like he was a part of that freshman bunch that came in, that highly touted group that was recruited by Coach Green, Coach Ferguson, so forth and so on. And hey, man, he was an intricate part of that. Like as much as people didn't get to see him play unless it was a blowout in practice, like he had to take it. You know what I'm saying? Like I would beat up on Zach. Any opportunity, and later on, Zach always reminds us that, dude, I was the only one still standing with you. Like when Higgs was ineligible, like I was the last one from that freshman group. Marcus Hayslip went on to the league.
That's right.
Harris Walker and Terrence Woods got released. John Higgins was ineligible. It was me and ZT30, man. So that's my guy, man. Like, and Zach is a humble guy. Doesn't ask for a lot, but so to reach out to Vol Nation in this fashion, man, it's always good to know that he trusts that. You know what I mean, and expect the blood, sweat, and tears that he gave for Vol Nation, and for it to come back the way it is. And I think 30,000 is a small fee. You know what I'm saying, to show your support. In anything it is, man, I promise you, it won't fall on deaf ears. Like this will be truly thankful up there in Charlotte. So,
amen. Portions of the program brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow them on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia daily updates. Go to Facebook, Sports Treasures TN, Sports Treasures TN. The daily updates are awesome. As always, Ron's appearance brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. It's time for SEC play, Ron. Thoughts?
Yeah. I've been waiting on it. I'm loving it. I can't wait. Like I think all of the SEC, since we ain't got nobody playing in the championship game, everybody's ready for it at this point. Like it's kind of watch it away, hurry up and move on. And hopefully, man, I know it, and it's not just SEC fans, but Commissioner Sankey, I think, has got a lot pushed into this one, man, hoping that we can get a team to the Final Four. And I think you have an opportunity, man, with this SEC season. And Tennessee's right up there, creme de la creme of this group, that's vying for one of those Final Four spots.
Hey, can I jump in real quick here, Caleb? I'm sorry, but with the college basketball regular season has waned. I think we can all agree with that because of the tournament. Mm-hmm. Do you, as a basketball guy, are you concerned that the 12-team playoff could take even more attention away from basketball in the month of December?
I think so. Unless the regular season of basketball is done kind of like it was this last month of December. I thought it was some really good matchups across the landscape of it. Like, you had some blue bloods playing earlier on. And then I also like the conference challenges. I think we've been waiting on the SEC ACC challenge for quite some time. And it was good to see that in the spot of right after the SEC championship. So you had a little break with some bowl games that you don't really know what matters, not really with the college football playoff. So you had those fan bases tuning in. But I think everybody else was kind of watching during that gap. And I think if you can space it out like that, I also believe, man, Peter Burns came up with a great idea. Like, you should push the basketball season back if you wanted to, you know what I mean, and let it run on into May. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would be great too. So it's no overlapping. Everybody gets this rightful attention, and you're not scrambling for fans to be watching. But I like what I saw this last December. I thought that was impressive. It was and it helps when you got competitive teams. It was more competitive this year as well.
Note to self: trademark May Madness.
Oh, get on it early.
Oh, that's much better. Also, I mean, just for the mental health of
I mean, I know Ron, he knows how to turn a buck. He's sitting there thinking, I'm gonna beat Dave to this.
Also, for the mental health of reporters like us three who cover these sports, Rod, I would have to say that I've always hated that March Madness aligns with the start of spring practice. That's just too much happening at one time. And you can get it done in May before the College World Series starts in baseball. Like, you can just have it all together. So
then at the same time, man, like to scratch that itch, I always, like the last probably 8 to 10 years, like I'm a Masters fan. Like, and it kind of slides over into the Masters a little bit. Like I want to watch the Masters too and not worry about what's going on. So yeah, man, it's a lot to cover, man, when you talk about all these sports overlapping.
Yeah, totally agree. Ron, I wanted to dive in a little bit, zone in on Tennessee because they have what many people will be consider a solid test on Saturday, and Ole Miss is their SEC opener. But you tell me, I'm not so sure Ole Miss is that much of a test. I know they're 13-0 and number 22, but they're 84th in KenPom rankings right now.
Yeah,
and they haven't played a soul. They're that type of team that those teams, Ron, that they could have like 26 wins at the end of the year and still not make the NCAA tournament because their schedule was so bad.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How do you think Ole Miss will test them?
Man, I was reluctant to give them props until I was able to see them and I saw them personally, and they passed the eye test for me, man. Especially the styles that Tennessee plays and Ole Miss plays. I don't think, when you're going up against, I think Tennessee can play different styles. I think Ole Miss needs to stick to their style to win these games. Like them going up against an Alabama that wants to get up and down and shoot threes, I don't think that'll bode well for them. Florida, I don't think it'll. Arkansas, maybe if Arkansas is not hitting threes. But watching them, man, do they take on the personality of their coach? And regardless of whatever Chris Beard got going on, when he get in that team facility and in those white lines, man, dude he's a monster. He's a monster, and you can see it coming out of his players. I think I saw a cover that wasn't left bare by Kermit Davis, and he picked it up. He got some guys to transfer in. Allen Flanagan is playing with a newfound level like he had his sophomore at Auburn before he got hurt. Like this guy, he's tough, man. Like they get to their spots. They got a 4-headed monster on the outside and 2 7-footers inside. It's going to be tough. I don't think they're a great shooting team, even though they've been shooting lights out like the last 4 or 5 games. So can that carry over onto the road against a quad 1 team that's going to close out with a hand up? You know what I'm saying? The teams that they played before, they close it out, but they ain't got no hand up. They almost daring them to shoot and they're making it. So athleticism. And then I think the biggest thing, you see the accountability that they're holding each other to. Like it was a dust up in the game versus Bryant. Between the point guard for Ole Miss and one of Bryant's players, and immediately it was a bench player that was in the game from Ole Miss, and immediately he went and grabbed him, and everybody huddled up at half court, and you could hear him talking to him like, "Hey, dog, we don't need this, man. Like we got a way bigger goal. You know what I mean? Come on, leave that alone, man. We got stuff we trying to work on. Stay focused on what we're doing." And I thought that was key. So anytime you can coach yourselves and the coach don't have to get on to you, you got something set up, man, when it comes to leadership that's unquestioned. So I think that's big now. You got to take it on the road and win against a quad 1 team, a top 10 team, and I think that's going to be difficult. Do I think they're in the same stratosphere as Tennessee? No, I don't. But, man, they're going to be a tough out. They're so athletic. Good gosh. He's probably one of the most talented guards in the SEC without question, Matt Morrell. You know what I mean? And coupled with Flanagan. I'm telling you, Flanagan's playing at a whole different pace right now, man.
Okay. I kind of agree with you on that. So that's going to be interesting to watch. From Tennessee side, though, we saw Zakai Siegler, man. It's like he's fully back and healthy, balling. And I think, and you're right, and the interior presence is starting to help Tennessee a lot from 3.
Yep.
Because it's clearing things out. However, I was big on Jonas Aidoo a month ago. Starting to think maybe Toby Awaka is the guy, because I've just got to be honest, Ron. If a fight breaks out underneath the basket, wouldn't you rather Toby Awaka be down there than Jonas Aidoo?
Yeah, no, hell yeah. I want Jonas Aidoo to be the lookout because he's tall. He can look over everybody. Like, tell us how many coming. You know what I mean? We're gonna battle these ones right here in this foxhole. You look out and make sure you can see how many people coming if we need some more help or something. But Toby is a different guy, and honestly, Cato, think about this, man. That is a great problem to have. You saw the emergence of Jonas Aidoo. Now you're starting to see Toby Awaka. When I was walking into the SEC season, I'm looking at it as, man, I don't know what the depth is like in the front court. That was the only thing that was worrying me. But to see Walker take that another step and get comfortable in being able to get the ball and use a move like out, because you're undersized. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be playing like against Ole Miss with 2 7-footers. You got to be able to use your body, carve out space, find angles and different things. And he's looked like he's starting to do that, and he's relentless on the board. So that's what I was scared of. I thought that's where we fell victim early on in the season against Purdue, against Kansas. It was the front court depth. You know, one of those guys foul out or something of that nature. The second guy's not really ready to come in. He got to get warmed up, get going. You don't see that no more. It's when they do ain't got it going, you can bring Tobey in and you're not missing a beat. And that's beautiful to see. So, and I still want to see one more. I still want to see one more guy take that step, whether it's Estrella or Cade Phillips. Somebody else got to take that step, but I like where it is now. So I totally agree with you. Tobey, man, is I'm a big fan of guys that play on the national team, regardless of the age, under 18, under 20, under 19, NBA, Olympic team, whatever it is. You never come back at the same level. You always go up a level. And I think you're seeing that with Tobey Walker playing against pros from other countries. And he's brought that in. He's in a comfortable space right now.
Ron, I don't want anybody to get fired.
Wait a minute. What you about to say then?
Well, I feel like there are times that kind of dead man walking or dead woman walking. And I hate to say that about Kelly Harper. I do. I really, really do. But it just doesn't feel like it's going to work out. I mean, if you had a bet a mortgage payment, or is Tennessee looking for a new Lady Vols coach in the offseason?
Oh, I'm right there with you, Hook, man. Good gosh. When you talk about what a Lady Vol embodies, discipline, leadership, being able to take a step, if you need to resetting, taking a deep breath, going at it again, never giving up. Like, she embodies all of this. Something is not translating to the court, to the players, to the court. You look around the league, I don't think Tennessee's ever been, the Lady Vols have ever been in a situation where they've been strapped for talent. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and this is no knock to any of them. I think all of them are worthy of it, man, and they're giving their all for it. But look around the SEC, you're like, dang, that look like our Lady Vols, like they used to look. You know what I'm saying? Like, one or two, like it was never just one. You know what I'm saying? It was never just one or two. It was, you got 4 or 5, man, and you don't know what this class is going to be coming in next year. It's different, man. And I think Coach Kelly, man, she's in a situation where she came from, what was it, Southeast Missouri or South Missouri? How you say it?
Southeast Missouri State, yeah.
So coming from there, and you get to this stage, and the way you won there, where she was very successful, I'm not sure you can win that way in the SEC. You kind of got to tweak some things. You know what I mean? And it kind of shows in the wins and losses. But, man, I don't want to say that either, man. But if I had to put stock in it, I think they would be looking. And you start to look around, man, to everybody hitting on these first-time coaches. I thought that Carol Lawson situation was a big one. I love Carol Lawson. That was in my class in '99, so I'm gonna be biased. But I thought that was a big situation, man. If a trigger would have been pulled to get her, you go get her, man. So, I hope Kelly can get it together. But man, if I had to put a little stock in it, I might get somebody else put some stock in it in another name, so it ain't gonna be my name. But I think I would reap the benefits on this one.
Yeah. Ron, there's a couple of things that I think are really working against Kelly Harper right now, on top of just the on-court reference. One, Danny White himself is the best hirer of coaches around, and he knows he's the best hirer of coaches around, and his strength has actually been women's basketball. Felicia Leggett-Jack, he found her out of nowhere when he was at Buffalo. And I forget the UCF coach, but she was another gem of a hire when he was down there. But then the other thing is, you brought it up. I mean, Kara Lawson she's recruiting on the level of UConn right now at Duke, and she's coaching them well. And she is one of the smartest people to ever be in basketball. So, I mean, when tides like that happen, it's hard to stay around if you're just doing okay, right? You can't just do okay, right?
It is, man, and you got to look at it. And Kelly honestly is a victim of her own success. Like, she set that bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, it not taking anything from Pat. I mean, she had to give it to the players, and I'm sure she would always say, "Man, it's my players that went out and did it." So Kelly's a part of that foundation that was able to carry it on, pass that torch, and the bar is set because of her. And I mean, to a human being, like, looking in the mirror, I think she would say, "Man, I don't feel like I'm getting it done." You know what I'm saying? I am most definitely trying, and I'm not going to stop. But injuries play a part. All of this transfer portal plays a part. But man, at the end of the day, in this business, the way college landscape is today, and the way the women's game is growing, I think that's the other part. The women's game is growing so rapidly that Lady Vols brand cannot be left behind. It's no way possible. You can't let South Carolina, LSU take off, UConn, Louisville, but like, you can't let these schools. Ohio State just landed a big one in Jelani Cambridge. Like it's some ones that I know Coach Kelly is working with to be able to get like Lauren Hassel, who will be a dynamic get. Trent Hassel's daughter, who's a sophomore, but it's a lot of people that she can get, and man, you got to go get them. You got to land them, because talent is everything. Look what Dawn is doing, man. Look what Morka is doing. Like, you can't be left behind. Not the Lady Vols. Vols basketball, we can fall in the wayside a little bit. Tennessee football, you can fall in the wayside and try to dig yourself back out. Lady Vols, they did it. They did this.
Let me ask you this, because an elite job is one that you can call anybody and they're going to pick up the phone and have a serious conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So much expectations, such an incredibly large shadow cast by Pat Summitt. Is Tennessee an elite job, or do the expectations of the fan base make potential coaches wary?
I think it's an elite job, especially in that realm, just because of what she already set up. You look at it and you think about just the different levels that it went to, and the support that she got. Like, you could easily walk into a Tennessee program and get to asking questions about the football, asking questions about men's basketball, so forth and so on. And then when you get to the Lady Vols program, this stands alone. Like, I don't. You working all the way from the 80s all the way up to today. You start talking Lady Vols, like, just look across the college landscape. Who else is saying lady in front of their names? It's the Lady Vols. Like, they were able to hold on to it for a reason. So it's a program, man, and yes, it's tough. Hell yeah, because they've been winning. Like, you feed your belly, you fill your belly up with them championships. It don't feel good, man, when you just win an SEC championship. Like, you want to go be being in the Final Four. Like, it's different. It's different. I do think they can pick up the phone for anybody, though, and they're going to answer. They're at least listening. And if you get them on campus.
Do you think they could go hire Kara Lawson tomorrow?
I think Coach K would have something to say about that. But see, that's what I'm saying. You're getting a pull from a different direction when you talk about Duke. It's going to take a Coach K to come in there and say, hey, we're going to give you all the resources too. We don't want to lose you. But if the Lady Vols hold true to what it is, hell yeah. That's a dream job for Kara Lawson. She ought to I would think.
Pretty good insight.
You couldn't bring a championship as a player. What's the next best thing? Bring it as a coach.
That's true.
Pretty good.
Ron, do you think one of the things that what I want to talk a little bit X's and O's with Kelly Harper and the way she coaches, because it's not like, I don't think any of us think that she doesn't know basketball. She knows it. She's forgotten more than I'll ever learn. Do you think one of the problems sometimes with Pat Summitt proteges, and Kara Lawson is not showing this, but it's that the style of coaching that Pat Summitt employed isn't as effective in women's basketball anymore because there was such an emphasis on crowding the paint with defense and rebounding that doesn't it seem like Kelly Harper's too committed to that, which was from the 90s style and even the 2000s with Candace Parker, but the game, women's basketball, hasn't it gone the way of the men's game at this point where it's a lot more fluid and spread out than it used to be? And the biggest star is Caitlin Clark for a reason.
Right. And I think that's what Tennessee is missing. You're missing that person that you can say, move, get out the way, and the floor is going to be space, go get you a bucket. And then on the defensive end, I think you also looking at it on the defensive end, and you usually have somebody to patrol the paint as you did back in the past, but it was like a lot more crowded. And if you get to the point where you can space the floor, you got to get those type of players that match that style of play. Like even the players don't really match that style of play. You know what I mean? You still had to be quick twitch, athletic, switching 1 through 5. You know what I'm saying? Like Tamika Catchings, they could go small and let Catch play the 5. Candace Parker could switch out and go guard a 3. You know what I'm saying? Like you had the fighters, but you had those type of athletes as well. So I think that's the biggest part. If you gotta establish what that Lady Vols prototype player looks like and be able to go get them. I think that's where you're lacking at. You know what I mean? And there's no knock because you got some really good players. But they do one thing well. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they may be, whether it's shooting, whether it's handling the ball, whether it's finishing, whether it's rebounding, whether it's block. Lady Vols do a lot of things. They're interchangeable. When you look over the years, successful teams had interchangeable players. It was never just one person that's going to be the one. And if they get covered up, we're going to let somebody else handle the rock. You know what I'm saying? You go play the 2. It's fine. So I think that's the talent, man.
Ron, great stuff as always. You're on 104.5 The Zone from 3 to 7 Central?
6? Yeah, 7 is after party. That's a little bonus for everybody.
Shots.
A lot going on.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, so and then we can follow you on the Twitter, and we appreciate you each and every week. Brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Thank you, sir.
No doubt, man. I know a lot of people to the Vol Nation, man. A lot of people been hitting me, asking, man, are they gonna put you on the game in Knoxville? I'm begging them to, y'all. It's not me, believe me.
Well, when do you get the call? Is it like Saturday morning? They say, hey, we need you at TBA or Food City or whatever the hell that's called. We need you in aisle 9 to call the game.
Yeah, hey, man. They gave me the schedule, man. And Wednesday and Saturdays, they got me in studio. Hopefully something comes along where they say, you know what? Let's put them on the game this week. So we'll see,
Let's
man.
do a 3-person broadcast because Rod and Dane Bradshaw could both be color guys. Because Dane would be like the Kenny Smith to your Charles Barkley.
Dane is so savvy. Good God, Dane is savvy, man. I love talking to dude. That's my guy. I've been taking so many notes after Dane, but don't tell him that though.
Oh, you passed Dane. It's Dane's in the rear view. It's Billis. It's up front.
Gotta go get him, baby. Gotta go get him.
Have a blessed day. We love you, man. And again, the link is below for Zach and his family, and certainly check that out. We appreciate you, Ron.
No doubt. Happy New Year, guys. Go Vols.
Happy New Year, Ron Slay. There we go. Yeah, what do they do there at ESPN? Do they just call him at like 8:30 in the morning and say, head on down to the stadium? You get to call the game?
I mean,
how does that work? How do they not know on Thursday who's calling the game?
Well, I mean, they've moved people off before for things like the week of. For like, there was a really, really funny story. The year the Charlottesville stuff happened, there was a guy by the name of Robert Lee that was calling a Virginia football game, and they moved him off the game because his name was Robert Lee, which was the stupidest thing ESPN ever did. But the guy named Robert Lee had anything to do with Robert E. Lee. One, he was Asian, so he obviously had no relation to Robert.
Yeah, almost makes you wonder if they've been to the hemp house, the NCAA, that is. The hemp house, or ESPN, I should say, the premier hemp dispensary with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Go to Hemp House Chat with 2 T's, Hemp House Chat with 2 T's. Use the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED, and you'll get 10% off. So this is... Caleb has these ideas in the 3:45 a.m. production meeting, and everybody's saying I hate ESPN, worst company in the history of man to work for. But anyway, so Caleb has these ideas, and he's got a new one. And at first I was like, is that a left field? I was like, is Caleb been partying? And now that I kind of think about it, I don't dislike it. Propose your idea to the masses.
So I'm not going to take full credit because this actually was first proposed by Kirk Herbstreit a few days ago. And Josh Pate said he loves the idea. The concept was the national championship game in college football this year is at Houston. It's been at a random location for every year. They're doing it like the Super Bowl, where it's at a random location. They're going to continue that with a 12-team playoff. But Kirk proposed just make the Rose Bowl the national championship. It's the granddaddy of them all. You said you've been out there once. I've never been to a Rose Bowl game, but I've seen the Tournament of Roses parade on TV. I just did my history piece on it. It captures still to this day. Dave, tell me if I'm wrong. They still take very seriously the essence and tradition of college football and the pageantry, don't they? Out there during those.
Yeah, relatively speaking, it's not the South, though. I'm going to go ahead and say.
But they they understand the historic importance of the bowl game more than anything. And it's the one bowl game still in its original location. The Cotton Bowl has moved to AT&T Stadium away from Cotton Bowl Stadium. I thought that was a big slap in the face to tradition to move to AT&T Stadium, honestly, from the Cotton Bowl Stadium at the Texas State Fairgrounds. The Orange Bowl is no longer in Miami. And honestly, the Sugar Bowl never really had a traditional stadium because it was in Tulane, but the Rose Bowl is in the same spot it was when the first game played in 1902. And I thought, why put it? It's not the NFL. It's not like a Super Bowl. Shouldn't the college football national championship game be in a place that's going to appreciate the essence and the pageantry and the tradition of college football?
Yeah, but there are more people that appreciate that in the South than maybe an organization that puts together the Rose Bowl parade. So really, you'd have more people that cared if it was in the South. The reason I don't like it, and I was actually at the Rose Bowl, as Caleb mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that picture if you want to see Fat Dave, super Fat Dave, right there with Mike Strange and John Adams and Drew Edwards standing in front of in the Rose Bowl. That game didn't go so well for the Vols. But, yeah, I was there. It was a special place. But, Caleb, I'll tell you firsthand, it's not as special as South Carolina. I mean, as far as a game day atmosphere, there is just a different level when you go outside the SEC. I'll give Cal a lot of credit. Cal had a good game day atmosphere. But compared to the SEC, it was below South Carolina. It was below Ole Miss.
Dave, let's be fair here. You were not covering a Rose Bowl game. You were covering a game at Rose Bowl Stadium.
That's true. That's true.
And so what I mean, because again, yeah, I would never compare a game in Pasadena to a game in South Carolina, but you can't do a national championship game on campus stadiums because some team might accidentally get home field advantage for that moment. So no one cares if it's in Pasadena. I know that's UCLA, but come on, let's be honest. UCLA is never going to get a home field advantage, even if it's in their own stadium. So I just think the bowls, how about this? How about alternate the old bowls? Alternate the Rose, Sugar, Cotton, and not Fiesta. That's not old enough. And Orange. Rose, Sugar, Cotton, and Orange alternate for a national championship game. And then their semifinal games, otherwise those bowl games. Because whatever you think of, like, I'm not talking about regular season game day atmosphere. When you talk about bowl game atmosphere, you get you covered the Fiesta Bowl, right? And you went to the Orange Bowl, right?
Peyton's last game?
Yeah, Peyton's last
Orange
game.
Bowl.
Isn't there a unique like mystique feel for these old bowl games and the tradition there when you go? That just
Well, see, I wanted to include here would be the three if we want to do this on a permanent rotating basis. I would go with Texas Stadium, the Rose Bowl, and the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. And I wanted to include the Orange Bowl, but it's at Joe Robbie, and it's really aesthetic, and it just or antiseptic. What's the word I'm looking for? It just doesn't have any feel, no soul.
Anticlimactic. Yeah, and
All
now
those
you're
A
right. And now
words.
it's at Hard Rock
Except
Stadium.
for the one A word. I'm not calling that one A word.
But what about this? What about okay? You said Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. I know. I would do Sugar Bowl, New Orleans, because the Sugar Bowl is so old and traditional. So I would do Sugar Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and Rose Bowl. Now there's an argument here, and I will give you this. You can tell me, but Stephen A. Smith did a rant on this Monday. You've been there. Apparently there's a logistical issue with the Rose Bowl because it's not well thought out with the infrastructure and the traffic coming in for the big games anymore. And that's the biggest reason they
people
moved
tell
away
me
from
that at the Rose Bowl. I had no problem.
Oh, but that's because UCLA fans weren't showing up for the game, Dave. That's because it was a regular season game atmosphere.
That's fair.
No. Now, and here's where I'm thinking, like the Cotton Bowl, they had to move the Cotton Bowl. You know why the Cotton Bowl was not a BCS Bowl, right, Dave?
Because it was a hellhole.
The stadium, yes. They moved it. Yes.
I swear to you, I almost got frostbite in the press box.
Oh, that's another one. That's right. You covered the Cotton Bowl. Do they not at least capture the essence of history in that bowl game, though? The mystique and stuff?
You're asking. My Cotton Bowl experiences were not good. There was an ice storm one year. It was all you could do to get to the stadium. So I hated it.
So you preferred it. You were glad it moved to AT&T Stadium.
Right. But I respected the tradition of it. And I thought it was cool walking across the fairgrounds on an inch of ice, watching Jimmy Himes bust his rear. But no, I mean, I respect it, but I wish I could include the Orange Bowl. But I can't. So I would say, I would say those three, I would be okay rotating it. I think it's still a Southern sport. It feels like to me when NASCAR was pushing so hard to get out west and they were taking races from Martinsville and places like that, and they were moving them out west. And that to me feels like what you're trying to force down fans' throats. And I just wonder if
I'm not trying to put it at SoFi Stadium out there, though. It's not like I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to put it in the Rose Bowl, the oldest, most traditional bowl game. I mean, sorry, it is the granddaddy of them all. The Rose Bowl has more prestige historically than the Sugar or even the Orange.
In this area, though, I mean, I know you're right. I watched your video. It was awesome. People need to check those out. Those Vol history or Tennessee ball history and then college football history. They're awesome. So check them out. But is it? I mean, if you ask somebody in the South that's under the age of 40, that's not as learned as you because you're a little bit different. You know more about college football than most people. 99% of people, I know. So if you ask somebody under 40 in the South, what's the greatest bowl game? Would they automatically say the Rose? I don't think they would.
Well, most people in the South have, because Southerners have not valued bowl. They've wanted playoff. Southerners have wanted a playoff system longer than most until the SEC started winning a lot in the BCS era. I think they might. I think at the very least you could rotate Rose, Sugar, Cotton. Put it this way: I don't want it I don't want it treated like the Super Bowl. Is that fair to say? I don't want college football national championships treated like they're just at a random big NFL stadium every year. Am I wrong for thinking that? Because college football, isn't there a little blah feel that it's in Houston this year? Like, who cares? There's no real, there's no pizzazz when it's in Houston. There was no pizzazz when it was at SoFi Stadium last year.
Well, so are there any on-campus stadiums that you would actually, I mean, the Rose Bowl is an on-campus stadium for UCLA, but it's bigger than that. Are there any on-campus stadiums that you would say should be in contention or no?
No, because the on-campus will be the first round of the playoff, and you can't do on-campus for the SEC schools because, Dave, let's be honest, one SEC school they'd have 75% of the home crowd there if that happened. I mean, if Georgia is playing a national title game in Athens, or if Tennessee's playing a national title game in Knoxville, and they're playing Washington, 90% of Neyland Stadium is going to be Tennessee fans. If you do it random, so you can't do that.
Said.
What about that?
Yes. Well, before you get to that, Don Self customer service still matters. I know everybody's shopping for price, but how about donself.net? Because he's been there for 40 years. They've helped you and will continue to help you for 4 decades. Think about that. Customer service still matters, especially when you got to put that claim in. It's not all about getting a great deal. Go to donself.net right below. donself.net. Sorry, Caleb, go ahead.
What if you did? No, this would be really funny. They would never do this, but what if you, because college football, for those who don't know, was historically an Ivy League sport. It started as an Ivy League elite sport. And as a matter of fact, the South rejected football for a long time because it was a damn Yankee sport. And it wasn't until the 1920s that it blew up. What if you put a college football playoff national championship at one of the old Ivy League stadiums? Just for a appreciation of history.
I will tell you this, and I'm giving him credit right now. because this is this is it. This is the answer. No Rose Bowl, no Jerry World, no Mercedes-Benz Dome. Nashville is an amazing city. It should be Nashville. And they've got
Just
the new
every year?
stadium. What's that?
Just every year?
Yeah.
Over
It's
the
Nashville.
Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.
Yeah, because I think that for one, Atlanta's too congested. Now Nashville's big enough, could be an entertainment hub. And it just screams South at me. Atlanta screams cosmopolitan. I just happen to be in the South.
You
know
don't
what I mean?
think Nashville's cosmopolitan? You don't think Nashville is cosmopolitan at this point? That is the okay. Woo girls from New Jersey and cowgirl hats is Nashville at this point. Okay.
I agree. And that's actually where Caleb had his bachelorette party. But no, but I think Nashville with a new stadium, a little bit more space. I mean, I don't see where you can put another parking lot in Atlanta, much less. I don't know. I'm just not a big Atlanta fan. I'll tell you what they could do if they really wanted to is if they wanted to put it in the heart of the South. I mean, did you know the two cities with the highest ranking of college football are what cities? Would you care to guess?
Nashville and Birmingham.
That's exactly right.
Put it at Legion. Legion Field has fallen apart since the Tide has stopped playing there. What if you restored Legion Field for the national title?
Well,
game?
I mean, that would be okay if you're fine with fans getting stabbed after the game. You ever been to Legion Field?
No, I've been around it. I've never been inside Legion Field.
I left an NCAA tournament game at next door at about 3 a.m, and I did not feel safe walking that 100 yards to my car in pitch
Birmingham's
darkness.
a rough place. This could save it. I mean, the money for. I'm just saying. I mean, look, I get what you're trying, but like, I get it because the South cares about college football more. College football, Dave. For those who don't know, that's kind of an issue. They're trying to make it more national, and it used to. The reason the South cares about it more is because the South is dominating it in actual wins, and they're trying to get more teams to care. That's why long term it's good for the sport if Michigan wins a close game against Washington in the national title game. Michigan.
Okay,
fans
let me
will care
ask
no
you
matter-
this then about your Rose Bowl thing. What about the elements? Now it is LA, and I'm aware. I love LA. Okay, so I know that the weather's great most of the time. Don't go in June. That's called June gloom when it's overcast every single day. But outside of that, the weather's pretty awesome. So it's probably going to be awesome, but they could get rain showers. If you hold it in Jerry World or the Mercedes-Benz Dome, you take the elements completely out of the conversation. And honestly, I would rather see a team win on its own merit than a wet football get dropped or a torrential downpour like the Peyton Manning Super Bowl against Rex Grossman affected the game. I didn't like that. I didn't like seeing that. And I'm an element guy, but for the actual title game, Super Bowl or national championship game, I don't want the elements to be a factor. And Rose Bowl would still open that a little bit.
I don't think that's ever happened in the Rose Bowl. It happened in Miami, but I don't know if that's ever happened in Southern California. Let's not forget why the Rose Bowl started. The Tournament of Roses parade in the 1890s was trying to showcase, rub it into the rest of the country. Look how great our weather is, guys. Y'all's weather sucks on New Year's. Our weather is awesome. That's the whole reason they sponsored this parade. And the Rose Bowl was started as a game to fund it. So the whole point of the Rose Bowl was just to showcase how much better the weather is in Pasadena than the rest of the country on New Year's Day. I get your point, but again, Dave, do you capture the essence of college football at Jerry World? Do you capture the essence of a college football national title? I just don't like it being treated like the Super Bowl.
I actually think you would capture the essence of it at Jerry World because the Cotton Bowl has just kind of moved over their support to them. And it does feel like a college town when you're in Dallas, which is unusual for a city that big. You can go to Atlanta and not know the SEC championship game is going on that weekend, but you know the Cotton Bowl is going on. All right, so I put up on the YouTube page there, picture of super fat Dave at the Rose Bowl. And so go ahead, and I'm going to open myself up because I criticize. It's our 5 favorite minutes, and your thoughts. We can go whatever direction you want to go because we like to bring you advertisers that you can trust. We're building a community here, and we think a lot of the direction you can take the program at times. So if you would like to, you can go ahead and talk about how fat Dave is in that picture, or how John Adams already had a hair recession problem and Drew Edwards overdressed. So it's all right there. But wow, Dylan came up with an interesting idea. What about making it in Hawaii?
No. I mean, I get it. Hawaii's cool, but that makes it a bowl game for the 1%ers, because only the millionaires will be able to travel to the national championship game every year. Again, that's the problem with the Super Bowl, is the Super Bowl is only a sport for the 1%ers now. College football should be for the masses.
Yeah. John Adams. Yes, that is John Adams. Vol fan for life, says Cowboy Stadium. I'm going to stick with him. I think if it's going to be in one place annually, I should say, I think it's Jerry World. I think that's still football crazy town. You could do lead ups. I mean, you could just do all kinds of things. And I think it gets lost. And I'm just telling you from being around, and I was the guy who thought it was important to get out to LA on Tuesday for a Saturday game, just in case, because I had an expense report. And so I've been around, and some of the cities just don't feel football. Dallas feels football. Atlanta doesn't feel football anymore. LA doesn't. And then you're saying you don't want them at any of the other stadiums, like the on-campus stadiums. So I think Jerry World, your answer, would give Texas and Texas A&M, I guess, a little bit of a benefit. But that really doesn't matter anymore, because the tickets, the way they're divvied out, nobody's going to not buy their allotment of national championship tickets.
No, they're not. This is me loving history and tradition and pageantry. And again, it's the reason I picked the Rose Bowl is, say whatever you want about it being a non-Southern place, but they actually are the only place that still appreciates college football at its rooted history. Honestly, as long as Greg Sankey's commissioner of the SEC is not going to be one that promotes tradition. Greg Sankey is shooting tradition in the head right now every time he's making a decision for the SEC. Okay, like he's about to kill 9 or 10 traditional rivalries in the SEC. So it's, whatever you think about the Southern football fans, Greg Sankey cares nothing about pageantry. And so
I will say this. Derek brings up the one that we haven't mentioned at all. So I'm just going to leave Fat Dave on the screen. One word to describe Dave's look there. Beyond pudgy. That's 2 words. Las Vegas. I don't want to see it be in Las Vegas. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. And as much as I love gambling, and I have a fun time gambling, and I love being out in Vegas to gamble on sports, not for college football. I want college football at traditional bowl sites that have a level of pageantry. If I had my choice, Dave, I'd put the Sugar Bowl back at Tulane Stadium. Okay, because that's where it originally was, and I'm a history guy, and I want it back at Tulane Stadium. Yeah, I don't like it at the Superdome in New Orleans. I want it at Tulane Stadium. And I want the Orange Bowl at the old Moorfield, I believe it was, actually in Miami. I don't know why it's out at the Hard Rock Stadium. That's annoying. Okay, I want it in Miami. I want the Sugar Bowl at Tulane Stadium. Put the Cotton Bowl back at the Texas State Fair. I don't care how old it is.
Look at Travis making fun of you. He says, I say do it at Sewanee. That's tradition. I mean, you may be a little too steeped in tradition. Okay.
I'm not steeped in tradition. I'm steeped in tradition that's good. Sewanee was bad tradition.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
No.
I'm throwing that out there. Hit the like and subscribe button. We appreciate that. Loved Ron Slay and Josh Ward being on the program today. By the way, I just want to bring this picture up one more time because you know who took this picture? You can see it there, right? You know who took it?
I see it at the top. It's Mike Strange.
He didn't take the damn picture.
What's that about Mike Strange?
No, my wife took the picture.
Oh, your wife.
Yeah, submitted by Mike Strange, but my wife didn't get photo credits. Wow. What the H? Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's do that right now.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Why didn't my wife get photo credit? What the H? We'll leave you with that. Show represented by Banks and Jones. Caleb, do you have any thoughts on that?
It's messed up, man. It's messed up, especially after your wife was willing to go with you. Was that to the Playboy? Oh, no, that was when you went to the Cal game, not the UCLA game.
No, it was UCLA.
It was UCLA? Okay. That's why
Yeah.
you didn't think what was that great. You'd already had a little bit too much fun that week.
Oh, I had fun that week. Oh, I had fun. My expense report that came instead of an envelope in a big box was proof of that. When you get your expense report back and it won't fit in a regular envelope, then you've spent too much money on the News Sentinel's dime. But I chalk that up to no credit for my wife in that picture. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports, the show represented by Banks and Jones. And on a Friday, we'll talk to Fred White. We always enjoy that. Be sure and check out the website for coverage of the Vols. I thought Caleb had a great piece on Brew McCoy and what his return meant both behind the scenes and what it meant to Tennessee's program. Be sure and hit that like and subscribe button. And if you would like to purchase a book, that link is right down below. But I would really, really, as much as anything, like for you to contribute whatever you can to Zach and Zach Turner. His wife's battling cancer. So I don't know about the prognosis, but this would be a good time to donate. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a